At Spiralogics, we pride ourselves in building solutions for our clients' problems. But the path from problem statement to a quality software is not always a straight journey. Hi, I'm Rasu, and today we are talking about a very important but often overstepped process in SDLC, the requirement process. So, what are requirements? We need to understand the problem statement, convert them into good requirements, which when developed will be the solution that clients are looking for. Let's assume that the client would like to build an internet business. That is the user need. For us, this means that the requirement is that our system or software or application should be able to provide products selling capability online. The solution could therefore be an e-commerce website. Now let's dig deeper and find out how we can understand the user's problem or needs and turn them into workable requirements. This is called requirement elicitation. We can use various methods and tools to extract and discover requirements from user needs, like brainstorming, stakeholder interviews, workshops and focus groups, use cases, questionnaires and surveys, and also wireframing. The outcome of this stage should be a visual representation of the user's needs. Having a spreadsheet to list out preliminary requirements is a widely used approach and is a very good starting point. Let's suppose the problem statement could be seller does not have a presence online, so many probable customers are missing. Requirements could be the system should be SEO friendly so that customers can easily find the site during Google search. Another problem statement could be as many customers are switching to cashless payments, seller is losing customers because they only have cash on delivery approach. This could turn into the requirements such as the system should incorporate payment gateways like PayPal, card payment, local payment gateways that the users can easily make the advance payment and be assured of the delivery. The seller should be able to receive the payment done by customers and system should be able to show the payments and purchase history in a clear and concise way. Next step is to create a use case diagram. A use case diagram shows various use cases and different types of users the system has and how they interact with the application. This gives us a better visualization we have for the application to solve users' problems. In the diagram, you can see that one type of user is a new customer who is not registered yet, and another type of user is the customer who has already been registered, and so the workflow differs according to the user type. After we have a bird's eye view of what users need, building a wireframe can help bring our thoughts to a proper vision that users can expect at the end of the development phase. Wireframes focus on the components and the workflow rather than the design. In the wireframe shown in the screen, you can see that it has strategic components added. There is a search bar, there is featured product section, there is the cart button. All these components makes it very easy to visualize what we should be expecting and what the end user will be able to see. In this stage, it is crucial to involve end users and clients to narrow down the requirements as much as possible. Constant feedback in this stage would guarantee a system development that is accurate, useful, and liked by all the stakeholders. After we have the basic requirements listed down, visualized it is time to analyze the requirements and prioritize them. For this, we will first classify our requirements as functional or non-functional requirements. Functional requirements focus on the what and non-functional requirements focus on how. Together, they make a whole system requirement that will fulfill the user's needs as well as the user's expectations. For example, having the ability to add products to the product display section is a functional requirement, while fast-paced load of the product display page is a non-functional requirement. Users may not specify non-functional requirements, but they make a huge difference since it covers the performance of the system and the user experience. Now we prioritize the requirements using Moscow method, which is must-haves, should-haves, could-haves, and the want-have features in the version of system. The must-haves are non-negotiable system needs that are mandatory to develop and without which the system will be deemed useless. The should-haves are the important initiatives that are not vital but add significant value to the system. The could-haves are nice-to-have initiatives that will have a small impact if left out. Want-have or wish-to-have are the features that are not priority for this specific phase of the project and can be worked on in the future phases. So let's go back to our e-commerce example and categorize our requirements to functional and non-functional, then prioritize. So as you can see, the authentication and authorization of employees are a must-have feature, while the online payment adds a very good significant value. Similarly, the recommendation system is good to have feature, but maybe not at this particular stage of the application. So it is added to want-have list. After the categorization and prioritization, we move on to solidifying our requirements in a formal document. An SRS document is a formalized form of communication between client and developer, helping to ensure that misunderstandings don't occur. It's a written agreement between the client and the software provider. It is also a base for creating test cases for the system, and tests can be mapped back to this SRS document, showing a clear relationship between the software tests and the requirements that they are testing. An SRS document has a standardized format. There are different standards, but one common one has been documented by the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, or IEEE. Let's look into the contents in this standard SRS template. The template can also be obtained using the link in the description. Everything we have done until now will come into a concrete form in this document. Let's briefly go through SRS document for the e-commerce application. After the background information of the system, we add our categorized, prioritized, clear, concise requirements with a proper unique ID. We can also include wireframes in the SRS. When the SRS is drafted, reviewed and validated by stakeholders, it needs to be properly signed by the product owner and the clients to make sure that everyone understands and are in agreement with the requirements. A user story is a requirement expressed from the perspective of an end user goal. The format of the user story is as shown in the screen. It is as some role I need some features so that I can achieve some objective. Let's create few user stories for our e-commerce example. As a new user, I need to be able to view products catalog so that I can find the product I need. As a store manager, I need to be able to add products to product inventory so that I can have an updated product catalog. That is the title of the user story. The other important parts of user story are description, acceptance criteria, and story points. Description is the detailed explanation of the user story. For example, in the user story we created before, for new users being able to view products, description could be the product details that should show in the product card that are on the home page. It can also include the wireframe of the product. Acceptance criteria refer to a set of predefined requirements that must be met to mark a user story complete. Acceptance criteria are also sometimes called the definition of done, because they determine the scope and requirements that must be executed by developers to consider the user story finished. Acceptance criteria for the user story in our discussion could be the view products page should be sorted in alphabetical order by product name, or the view products page should not have more than 10 products in default view. Now, user story points is a number used widely in Agile estimation. They are a relative measure of effort. Remember, story points is not necessarily the time estimation. When estimates are in story points, the team completes the most story points by tackling the hardest, most complex tasks. By doing so, the team is delivering and focusing their attentions on value delivered to the customer, rather than simply how much time it took them to complete the task. Now let's dig a little deeper on how the user stories move in an Agile board. When a new user story is created, it is automatically added to the backlog. If it falls in the current sprint phase, then it is added to the to-do column. Now the devs can be assigned or take the user story and move it to active column to denote that the work has been started. After the work is completed, it can be moved to dev done column, from which QAs can take the card and start testing by adding it to testing in progress. After the testing is complete and is ready for UAT by actual user or clients, then the card is moved to UAT column. The final phase is closing the ticket, once the acceptance criteria is fulfilled by clients and verified by QAs in the production environment. Requirements change. That is a global known fact. So there has to be a way to accommodate changing requirements along the course of the project. This can be done by the change history section in the SRS. Whenever we get a new requirement or change in the current requirement, SRS needs to be updated and a change log entry needs to be added to the change history section. The log needs to have the change date, change requirement ID, description, and the person who recorded the change, along with change requested by person. To summarize, let's take these key points. Requirement is a technical description of capability of a software to solve a problem and provide a solution. It can be categorized into functional and non-functional requirements. Functional focuses on users' needs, while non-functional focuses on users' expectation. Proper requirements management is necessary for a successful software delivery. There are 5 steps to follow. First is eliciting requirements, that is discussing users' needs and documenting it. Second is analyzing requirements, that is categorizing requirements and prioritizing them. Third is determining requirements feasibility, that is making sure that requirements are precisely defined and are clear. Fourth is validating requirements, that is creating SRS, getting it signed. Fifth is managing requirement changes, that is doing a formal process to discuss, review, communicate and adjust to new requirements, keeping a log of revisions in SRS. We also looked into creating user stories from requirements. These are requirements explained from a user persona level and broken down work item that can be assigned to dev team. Each user story has description, discussion and acceptance criteria. When the acceptance criteria are complete, the user story is considered as done, and so a requirement is successfully mapped to a solution. We also showed how we can drive the whole development process by using user stories and the board process that we can implement to track progress. Last but not least, we discussed the SRS and its elements, which are the essential document during software development. That was all about the requirement process. Thank you for joining. See you in the next one.